The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Cherry Picking here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Now, it wouldn't be cherry picking if I didn't have this man next to me, Mr. Matthew Harrison. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, all good. It's been a long week. Could have done without kick-off at 8:15 last night after having a gig in Southampton the night before and not getting back till 1 o'clock in the morning, then a full day at work. You know how it is. But yeah, very enjoyable. Some good results, and it'd be good looking back over the last couple of games.
It definitely has been a very, very good week this week, and we'll get stuck into that. But before we do, here's a bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. Find out more about them, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So, you're probably wondering, what the hell is coming up on Cherry Picking this week? So, of course, it wouldn't be Cherry Picking without our weekly game, Guess the Cherry. So, who will it be this week? The guess is in the comments section below. If you're watching this on repeat, just make sure that you don't have a look at it until afterwards. Hat-trick for Justin Kluivert as the Cherries beat old boss Gary O'Neill. We'll be talking all about that as well. Dom's returns, but it wasn't a happy return for Dom, thankfully, as they were very Spursy, and Dean Huijsen shined in the win over Tottenham Hotspur. And we're also going to be covering who are the youngest Cherries goal scorers. So there's lots to look forward to this week in Cherry Picking. And of course, at a slightly different time because of the game yesterday. Yeah, we couldn't really. We were both there, weren't we? So we couldn't really record on a Thursday night as we normally do, could we?
No. But yeah, it was worth it in the end, I must admit. But should we have a look at Guess the Cherry?
Why not?
Let's
So
do it.
far away.
Wow. This week's one. Born in Birmingham in 1956, he began his career at Burnley. He was part of Harry Redknapp's third division championship winning side. So if you're over a certain age, it's probably giving it away straight away from the pictures. Made over 200 appearances for Bournemouth and ended his career at West Ham. And he coached at Arsenal from 2003 to 2018. Who is he?
There we go. Answers in on a postcard, or nowadays it's the comment section below. I don't think anybody sends postcards anymore, do they?
No,
Fair enough.
I don't
Fair
think so.
enough.
Can't
No.
remember the last time I sent a postcard.
No, I don't think. I don't even know who I sent it to. I think it was probably my grandma on holiday years and years and years ago. So,
You
yeah,
won't
there
count
we
the
go.
ones that you normally send yourself. Anyway, let's move on.
Okie doke. So, I tell you what. Let's talk about this man. And hat trick of penalty wins Kluivert. So Kluivert on the mark to make history. So yes, fantastic victory over Wolverhampton Wanderers. Let's get stuck into it. I'm going to read out this piece from BBC Sport as well. So Bournemouth's Justin Kluivert became the first player in 67 years to score a hat trick of penalties in an English top flight game, as his treble saw off Wolves and piled the pressure on home boss Gary O'Neill. In a remarkable and thrilling match at Molineux, Evanilson also became the first player in Premier League history to win 3 spot kicks in the same match. It only took Bournemouth 3 minutes before they took a controversial lead. Evanilson had been fouled by Toti Gomez with a penalty awarded, although O'Neill was insistent the Brazilian had handled the ball before being brought down. I don't know what game he was watching. The incident was checked by the VAR, but the decision stood, with Kluivert calmly sending Jose Sarr the wrong way. Bournemouth's lead lasted only 2 minutes as Wolves equalised through Jorgen Strand Larsen's superb diving header from Ginrikna Bellegarde's cross from the right. But the Cherries, who had lost their past 2 games, retook the lead with the third goal in the opening 8 minutes. Overlapping Milos Kerkez got it, firing into the roof of the net after being played in by Marcus Tavernier. There was more VAR drama as Bournemouth went further ahead in the 18th minute. Sarr had taken a heavy first touch following a back pass. Evanilson got to the ball first and Sarr kicked the back of the striker's ankle. On-pitch referee Peter Banks missed the incident, but after watching the incident on the pitch side monitor, pointed to the spot with Kluivert converting his second penalty of the match. Strand Larsen collected Matthias Cunha's pass to pull one back, only for Bournemouth to get a third penalty a moment later. Sarr fouling Evanilson. Kluivert again showed his composure from 12 yards to become the first player to score a hat-trick of penalties in an English top-flight game since Ken Barnes for Manchester City in their 6-2 win over Everton at Main Road on the 7th of December 1957. Yeah, I remember that one. Don't you, Matt? 1957.
1957.
1957. So, Justin Kluivert has become the first player to convert 3 spot kicks in a single match. And Justin Kluivert set a record on Saturday when he became the first player to score a hat-trick of Premier League penalties in the match at Wolverhampton Wanderers. The AFC Bournemouth forward scored twice from the spot in the first half before converting his historic third in the 74th minute at Molineux. Until today, and of course this was on the Premier League website, there had been 69 instances of a player scoring twice from the spot in a single Premier League match, but never 3 times. Kluivert was the 5th player to have taken 3 penalties in a Premier League match, but is the first to successfully convert all 3. One such attempt came from Liverpool's Steven Gerrard, who, after scoring 2 penalties against Manchester United in 2014, rattled the post to miss his 3rd. So there we go. And this is the previous attempts. Now, when you told me about this, Matt, I've got to be honest, I wasn't aware of this. I wasn't aware of this, that, nobody had scored 3 penalties because, of course, we've had Matt Letizia on this show. He was prolific from the spot, and I thought he would have done it. But then again, they never got 3 penalties in the same match. But you look at the names that did. Sergio Aguero and Steven Gerrard jump out as the big 2 there. This is some feat, really, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's definitely a honour to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like you say, you look at the likes of Steven Gerrard and Aguero. You would expect those kind of names to convert. Obviously, you look at the Steven Gerrard game, and obviously it's a much more high pressured game. Liverpool Man United isn't your sort of it comes with a lot more pressure, doesn't it, for the players in terms of that rivalry. I believe he hit the inside of the post on that one, actually, on his 3rd one.
Yeah.
Steven Gerrard. But yeah, I mean, when you look at some of the names there, yeah, definitely, it's surprising that someone hasn't had the chance to do what Kluivert's managed to do. But also, when you think of how many games there have been since the Premier League was formed in 1992 till today, and it's only been 5 opportunities to actually do that. 67 other opportunities that 67 other players have scored 2 penalties in a game, but never had the opportunity to take a 3rd. So when you look at it, 5 opportunities over 32 years isn't a lot of opportunity to actually get this kind of piece of history, is it really?
No.
And luckily for Kluivert, he's managed to get that. It's what really amazed me when we were doing the watch along with this is just how calm, cool, and collective he was. And his eyes. If you rewatch the penalties again, watch his eyes. He knows exactly what he's doing. I think on one of them, I think he even looks in a different direction to where he hits the ball so calmly. So calmly. Since he's become, I think the first penalty I saw him take during pre-season, was it only the one he took in pre-season? I think it was against Genoa, I think, in the pre-season friendly. And the way he converted that, I thought this guy is definitely going to be our penalty taker this season.
Yeah.
I know he handed the ball over to Ivan Nilsson at the time before he got his first goal, to try and, get him a goal so he can get a bit of confidence. But, when you look back on it, it was probably the wrong decision. A penalty taker, comes with that added bit of pressure, doesn't it? To score from 12 yards, and he's just fantastic at doing it, isn't he? I think he's just, he is just so cool with it. He's definitely, a number 1 penalty taker, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just great how he converted it. Just great how he converted all 3 of those penalties. I mean, did his dad score a hat trick in the Premier League? I don't know.
I don't think he ever did. I'm pretty sure he didn't. And in fact, Justin has grabbed more goals in the Premier League than his father has now.
Yeah, because what was his dad's record? Was that like 11 goals or something in the Premier League?
His dad scored 6 goals in the Premier
6
League for
goals in the Premier League.
Newcastle. Yeah, so he wasn't prolific. Okay, don't get me wrong. He was probably coming towards the end of his career.
Yeah, but not
He
only that, he had Shearer there, didn't he? Bellamy, I think, was there
yes,
at the time. There was some decent names there as well at Newcastle at the time. And like you say, you're right. He was coming towards the twilight of his career,
yeah,
I believe, wasn't he? But only 6 goals. I didn't.
yeah.
Yeah,
He joined them in 2004, and he did. He grabbed his first goal, I believe.
Bobby Robson.
Yeah, under Bobby Robson. It was, against Chelsea, I think, if I'm right in thinking. No, that was an FA Cup match, I think. Was that? I'm not sure. And anybody who knows, please put it in the comments. I'm sure somebody can do a Google, and I'll probably do a Google straight after. But hey, there we are. There's something else to add to the guest of Cherry as well. When was Patrick's first goal in the Premier League? It'd be quite interesting to find that out actually, because just on a quick search as well, I can't really see it. But there you go. But yeah, he is prolific. He took it so well. I guess even if it was a player like Matt Letizia. Now Matt Letizia was prolific from the spot. He was always very, very composed, very calm. When a penalty taker steps up, normally they go the same way. And I think this is why Sergio Aguero, Steven Gerrard, Ben, Craig Burley, they've all struggled to convert, more than the two. Of course, in Darren Bent's case, it was only the one
Yeah,
because the goalkeeper's got more time to guess. But Justin he was calm, when he stood up to these 3 penalties on Saturday, but he made them slightly different. The pace of the run up, I guess, of course, looking at his eyes, which way he was looking. He didn't give Jose Sarr, much of a clue. Now, don't get me wrong, Jose Sarr is struggling with confidence by the looks of things at Wolves. He's had another 4 hammered against him against Everton, but at the same time, he's still a decent goalkeeper, and this is a very, very, very impressive hat trick, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. It really is. It really is an impressive hat trick, and yeah, I mean, just the game itself. The way the game was going. I mean, it was the most frantic. What was it? 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I think of an opening game. I think I've seen in a long time. I mean, within the first, what was it, 6-7 minutes, it was 1-1, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
I think we said at the beginning, didn't I? I think I said that this game's going to have some goals in it, and it's going to be a good game. But I didn't expect quite what happened in that game, and for Kluivert to get the convert the 3 penalties in the way he did is it's fantastic to see. And yeah, let's hope it gives him some more confidence to kick off in front of goal for the rest of the season, because just will help out with the likes of Even Nilsson, with more goals being chipped in from all other areas of the pitch. And yeah, but this is an interesting start. I thought this was very interesting how there's only in Premier League history, there's only been 5 players that have had the
yeah.
opportunity to take 3 penalties in in the same match. And I mean, Darren Bent, I mean, to only convert 1 out of the 3 is not very good for a striker,
It's
is
not
it?
particularly great,
But
is it?
just touching on Letizia, he
Yeah,
never ever missed a penalty, did he? Am I
he
right in
did miss
thinking
one. He missed
he
one.
missed 1
Yes, he missed
out
one.
of a career total of what? Do you know?
Oh, you have to watch. We'll have to watch the video back, but I think
Right.
it
Okay,
was
he says it
something
in
like
there. Yeah.
30 odd. Yeah, I think there was a 30 odd penalties. So
Oh,
yeah,
right.
he was very, very, very prolific. But yeah, I would say, what would you say that would be? Probably a 95% success rate.
So he's well into the 90s. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, Justin's not doing too badly, is he? Let's be fair. In fact, he might even become more prolific than Matt eventually. We can hope. We can hope. So, of course, it was a night of firsts as well. Remarkably enough, another historic moment was recorded in the Wolves-Bournemouth match, with Cherries striker Evan Nilsson winning each of the 3 penalties. The Brazilian was fouled by Toti Gomez for the first penalty, and then the Wolves goalkeeper Jose Sá for the second and third. It sounds beautiful. Kluivert expressed his excitement at his achievement. That sounds beautiful. To go in the history books, that's amazing. Super happy with it. I train them. We have a great keeper with Kepa. We try some stuff. The first one, I stop and look at the goalkeeper. What is he doing? I switch it up for the second one and then the third. He doesn't know what I'm going to do. I waited and he chose for me. Easy as that. As for the match ball, Kluivert has a special place set aside for it. I'll put it in my daughter's room. He said, I'm waiting for her to come in February and she can see how I did it. Look at that. And yeah, he's well chuffed with that. And like he says there, he mixed it up. That's the whole point of, a penalty taker. You keep going the same way, you're going to miss one eventually, and it becomes just too samey. And then, of course, in this day and age as well, Matt, you can't tell me that Kepa's not watching videos of, okay, next up, we've got Ipswich. He'll probably be looking at their main penalty taker and going, right, okay, what are they doing if they do get a penalty? How do they approach it? How is the run up? So he is aware. We've seen it on the water bottles, haven't we? Jordan Pickford had his lucky water bottle where he was looking at it, wasn't he? So
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's obviously with the way football is these days, obviously with all the analysis and everything like that, it won't only be the goalkeeping coaches doing it on the field with the player, in terms of studying which way the penalty takers go. They also, like you say, watch videos and other stuff. So yeah, people will be prepared for, the goalkeepers will be prepared for, like you say, with a penalty taker normally go in the same direction.
yeah,
But I think with, Kluivert, the way his trail of thought is with penalty taking, I think, he's always going to be a successful penalty taker
yes,
because, it makes it more difficult from an analysis point of view. Okay, obviously they'll be looking into other things like, his
yeah,
standing position, how close to the ball he is, how big's his run up, is he starting with like little steps? They'll be studying more the run up rather than the actual placement to predict where the placement's going to be. Possibly,
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that they really look into. But I think the trickier you can be as a penalty taker, the less opportunity it gives the keeper to, dive the right way. We all know, like, penalty takers. While we're on the subject of penalty takers, I don't know if you ever saw Julian Dix take a penalty.
yes,
Now,
yeah,
if there's anything that's ever going to scare you in front of, if you're a goalkeeper, I think even Peter Schmeichel cacked himself once. I remember seeing West Ham play United at Upton Park and they won a penalty, and you can see Schmeichel thinking he's going to, pelt this. And Julian Dix's style was just absolutely welly it into the roof of the net.
Mhm.
So unless you've got some real power like that, and you can keep the ball below the bar and convert regular, unless you're like that, doing it this way, which Kluivert's doing, says to me that it's going to be, it's going to be more trickier to predict for opposition goalkeepers, in terms of when they're preparing to play Bournemouth.
Yeah. I remember Julian Dix. Bloody hell, they were pelters, weren't they?
Yeah, no, you go back in the day. I mean, people used to take, penalty taking. The art of penalty taking's changed so much, isn't it?
Yeah.
Since it's not just a case of placing the ball and and hitting it from 12 yards. They used to just smash them, didn't they? Stuart Pearce, another penalty taker,
Mm.
used to really hit the ball hard. Whereas now there's they study their run ups. They, like you say, with Pickford with his water bottle, which way the player dives, which way the player kicks it, to tell him, so he knows which way to dive, and there's a lot more. A lot more that the players have, they analyse now, don't they? So by Kluivert, having several different ways of converting a penalty is only going to obviously benefit Bournemouth's conversion rate.
Yeah, I think he's quality from the spot. I wonder if Evan Nielsen will take one. I guess it'll only be when Kluivert isn't on the pitch. I think Kluivert has probably nailed that job on now.
Oh, massively.
But of course, we're not going to discuss him, because I've discussed him till I'm blue in the face, and of course we might not be seeing that man on the right hand side when West Ham come and visit in a couple of weeks' time, as well. There is a whole video that I've done called El Sakiko. Oh, so that's what I've called it. To be honest, I made up that name, and then I realised everybody else was calling it that name. So I don't think it's it's probably something that I remember from years ago and it being bounded about. But there we go. Those two men are in trouble, and I give my honest thoughts of who will be staying in their job and who won't, or if both of them are going to lose it, or if both of them are going to stay. They're both going to be facing each other, though, aren't they?
Oh, are they? When's that?
Yeah, that is on Monday night. I am surprised. I'm surprised. I thought that one would at least go. The one that I thought was going to go because he had a conversation with the board was going to be Lopetegui. Personally, I think he probably still will go afterwards because the board probably turned around and said something to him. He probably knows his time is pretty much up at West Ham. And sadly for Gary, I think his is too. So yeah, go and watch that after this show because it is quite interesting. I based it off, some facts as well that I found out about them. So yes, do let me know what you think, or do you think I'm talking absolute shit? You can tell me that as well.
Well, I'll keep my opinions to myself on that one, but I've been a very lucky boy.
Have you?
Yes.
What have you got?
What have I got? Well, it's my birthday this month.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Yeah, 21. And my wife has managed to get me, as we've been on the subject of this player as well, in the match worn shirt.
Yeah.
Auction.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
nice
poppy shirts.
Oh, happy days, mate.
So just before it gets framed now, it's not been washed either.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to make you full screen if you're going to show us it. There we are.
Yep. So I'm very lucky to have.
Oh, look at that, mate.
But not only that, he also scored in this shirt.
Of course he did. Look at that. There's his signature on there as well. And has it got some mud on there?
Yeah. There's bits of dirt here and there on it, but yeah, it's going to be framed, and it's my my birthday present.
Fair play, mate. Happy birthday.
Wife. And so to go in my collection, that's obviously building up. But so just as we were on the subject of Mr. Kluivert, I thought I would share that one with you.
Look at that. Look at that.
And a lovely box as well.
Definitely. There we are. So, of course, it is on the AFC Bournemouth website as well if you do want to order any of those. So, yeah, do get yourself over there.
It's actually bidding.
Bidding?
Yeah.
I didn't know how it worked, to be honest.
Yeah, it's bidding. You bid. But I'm kind of feel lonely here being on this big screen on my own.
Well, of course, we are on the subject of good wins, and of course we had a good win against Wolves, we also had a very, very good win yesterday. I'll tell you what, shall we relive it?
Yeah, why not? Let's have a look.
So, Dean Huijsen has made history as Dom's return is so Spursy. I love that. Absolutely love that. And look at it, he's absolutely delighted. Absolutely delighted. I think he's probably been a bit frustrated recently. We've discussed this in quite some detail, haven't we? He's a good
Yeah,
defender,
yeah,
but I think it is going to be very, very difficult now to leave him out of this side. And I'll tell you what, we'll discuss that in a moment, but let's just quickly go through all this. So, Bournemouth leapfrogged an increasingly out of sorts Tottenham in the Premier League after Dean Huijsen's header secured a deserved 1-0 victory at the Vitality Stadium. Spurs boss Ange Postecoglou was confronted by angry supporters at the final whistle, later revealing he received pretty direct feedback following a 7th loss in 11 Premier League away games. At 19 years and 235 days, Huijsen became the Cherries' youngest ever Premier League goalscorer when he met Marcus Tavernier's corner after 17 minutes. Ryan Christie struck the frame of the goal whilst Evan Nilsson had his effort chalked off for offside by VAR in what could so easily have been a heavier defeat for Spurs, who slipped to 10th in the standings following a 6th loss of the campaign. The results mean it's 1 win in 6 games for Postecoglou, less than a fortnight since he witnessed his side's 4-0 victory at champions Manchester City. Spurs have now lost 9 in their last 13 away games in the Premier League, but such inconsistency is not something Bournemouth boss Andoni Iraola needs to concern himself with at present, with his side rising to 9th on 21 points. So this is how it unfolded. So Dominic Solanke had an early opportunity to hurt his former club as he capitalised on a mistake from Huijsen, only for the youngster to recover with a timely block. Solanke's Bournemouth replacement Evan Nilsson had an even better chance when his close range effort was parried behind by Fraser Forster for a corner. Yet the hosts went ahead from the resultant set piece when Huijsen planting home a header to become Bournemouth's youngest Premier League goalscorer. Tavernier almost turns from provider to scorer just after the half hour mark, sorry, but saw a goal ruled out for offside before Forster kept out a close range header from the midfielder on the cusp of half time. Spurs substitute Son Heung-min had a goal disallowed for offside after the break, but they had Forster's thank again when he kept out Justin Kluivert's attempt, and the frame of the goal then came to Spurs' rescue from Chris's effort. Evan Nilsson thought he had doubled Bournemouth's lead when he tucked into an open goal after Tyler Adams capitalised on a blunder from Forster, but the former Porto striker was ahead of play. Spurs, however, failed to make that slice of luck count. So Huijsen headlines vibrant Bournemouth display. It was another hugely impressive display from Andoni Iraola's Bournemouth, who came into the game high on confidence following a 4-2 thrashing of Wolves in their last game. Huijsen, who came into the starting 11 to replace Marcus Senesi, not only scored the winner, but was also imperious at the centre of defence. After a shaky start when he allowed Solanke in with a chance, the Spain under-21 international, making it only his 3rd start of the season, dealt with everything thrown at him by Spurs. Meanwhile, in attack, Kluivert, the hat-trick hero from the Wolves win, looked dangerous, while the lively Christie, Tavernier and Evan Nilsson had chances to double the Cherries' lead, as did substitute Dango Ouattara, who fired over in the 83rd minute. He will likely feel that he could have done better. Huijsen, though, will rightly take the headlines as Bournemouth added Spurs to their list of big Premier League scalps this season, having already claimed wins over Arsenal and Manchester City. There we go. And Dom's return, disappointing one from Spurs' perspective. Football London handed him a 4 out of 10, fired over under pressure early in the game and sent a header wide from a corner. Later in the first half, had so little to work with for much of the match. There was another 4 out of 10 from the Daily Express, who wrote, started brightly and was making plenty of runs in behind the Bournemouth backline, but on a rare day off in front of goal, the striker's finishing was wayward. Twice in quick succession, the ex-Cherry star ought to have done better, with chances against his former side pocketed by man of the match, Huijsen, in the second half. And Evening Standard gave him a 5 out of 10. They were a little bit more generous. Blaze an early hot over following a mistake by Huijsen in his only big opening in the game. So there we are. That's what the Spurs news say.
Yeah, that was just before we moved on there.
Yeah.
This, these scores really, I'm not quite surprised about from obviously watching him last night. Obviously, none of us wanted him to score against us last night, did we?
No.
Because even though he was being professional and trying to, put his best performance in, I did feel that, he was not really his sharp self in front of goal. I still, his game was still there, obviously coming into, the midfield, picking the ball up, looking at winning the ball back and a bit deeper and like he used to for us. But, yeah, in terms of in front of goal, I mean, I think his stats actually showed that he had 4 shots with 0 on target. And Huijsen, that's absolutely right. The comment there where it's saying that he had him in his back pocket, because I thought the second half, Huijsen was absolutely fantastic, putting a great tackle against him as well, didn't he? When he was sort of breaking away.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic tackle. I mean, if Dom looks back on the game, he's not going to look back on the game too fondly, I don't think. Not just because it's obviously his former club, but obviously for his performance. I think it was a below par performance for him. But yeah, didn't really want him to put the ball in the net last night, did we?
No.
It would have been interesting to see whether, if he did score last night, whether he would have celebrated or not. And I'd like to think he probably wouldn't. He probably would have, been calm about it, out of a bit of respect. But I mean, I can't disagree with these scores here: 4 out of 10 and 5 out of 10.
I can't.
Like I say, 4 shots and 0 on target's not good for any striker, is it?
I think he was coming back and, into that hole, which he did for us so well.
Yeah, he was doing that well last night, wasn't he? I thought.
Yeah, but the problem was there was no outlet either side. There was nothing being offered to him when he did that. So he was kind of stuck, and especially in the second half, stuck to staying up front a lot more. And again, nothing was really coming in from either of those sides. Whereas, here he would come back, he would bring other players in, other players would know what he's doing, and he wouldn't have to just play that central role. Also, he did used to get a lot of service when he did, say for example, he did move into a goal scoring position, let's call it goal scoring position. He would have somebody like Billing. Of course, he had a great relationship with Billing, but Kluivert or Ryan Christie, those sort of players, Semenyo, creating things either down those wings for him, and they would give him an outlet. Spurs, I've got to be honest, didn't look like they were giving him anything really. So yeah, it's probably a fair score, but would you agree with me that I just don't think his teammates were helping him?
No, I would say that's probably a fair point in hindsight. But when you get an opportunity laid to you on a plate like that, and you're playing for a club like Tottenham, and you want to keep your place in the England squad, hitting the ball straight over the bar is not probably handy, is it? I'm like I say, I love Dom. I think he's a great player. Obviously, we never ever wanted to lose him. I wish him all the best at Tottenham. I really do. Obviously, just not when they play us. But I just feel sometimes that, maybe if he was still with us, he would probably be still burying them in for us. The England thing, though, for me is would he have got selected for England if he'd stayed with us? So I can see why he's made the move in terms of career progression. Size of the club,
Yeah.
England. I could totally understand why he made the move. But last night, you could see that he needed someone maybe like a Semenyo there, or a Tavernier, or a Kluivert, or
Yeah. Don't give
somebody
him
like
bloody
that
ideas.
to help him. Yeah, no, but to help him out. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Just don't think he had any outlet whatsoever. And as good as player as Madison is, for example, I just don't feel that there's that connection, whereas, compared to what he had here. Brennan Johnson, again, didn't feel that there was any connection. Brennan Johnson wasn't giving him options, when he did drop back into that hole. So, yeah, I would be very frustrated if I was a Spurs fan, but, I'm absolutely delighted with this result. And some key facts here for both the Cherries and Spurs. Bournemouth have won 4 of their last 5 matches at the Vitality Stadium, as many as in their previous 12 such fixtures in the competition. Um, Spurs have lost 7 of their last 11 Premier League away counters, while they haven't haven't won on the road when conceding first in the competition since a 5-2 win at Burnley in September 2023. Bournemouth have won successive Premier League matches for the first time since April, while both their clean sheets in the league this campaign have come in home wins, also beating Arsenal 2-0 in October. Only Arsenal 8 and Aston Villa 7 have scored more Premier League goals assisted via crosses this season than Bournemouth. We got 6, while only Wolves 7 and Everton 6 have conceded more such goals than Spurs in the competition this season, which 5. So yeah, very, very interesting statistic there, with regards to how Spurs have done. Do you think time's running out for Ange there?
Well, I saw something, I think, on Talksport today,
Hmm.
saying that there was a comment about Daniel Levy will sack him, if he needs to.
Yeah.
I always thought that when he took the job anyway, I thought, coming from Celtic to Spurs, is he the right man for the job? And he seemed to have been doing a good job last season. This
Mhm.
season, they seem to turn it on, don't they, Spurs? So, it's Spursy, isn't it? Everyone describes it as Spursy. It
Yeah.
always depends on what Spurs side turns up. Now, I was speaking to a friend yesterday who was going to the game last night. And he said to me, what's your prediction for the match? And I just said, it depends on what Spurs side turns up.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt confident last night. I mean, I felt confident against City and Arsenal this year. Don't know why I just felt confident, because I think it's because our high press. We're not scared to attack teams, are we?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like I said to my friend yesterday, it's a case of what Spurs side turns up. And if it's the Spursy side, then Bournemouth have
Mm.
got a very good chance of winning. Now, the only real disappointment for me last night is that, we had chances that we got to learn to start taking our chances more, because we ain't going to win games 1-0 against top sides
Mm.
like we did last night every time. We've got to really we had plenty of opportunities last night to convert and have a couple more goals. Obviously, I know there was the offside goal.
Yeah.
So if that wasn't offside, 2-0, yeah, I think that would have killed the game. That second goal, sort of after the sort of 65th, 70th minute, would have killed that game off last day. But yeah, that's the only disappointing thing from that game last night for me. Was that we didn't convert a couple of more chances that we had, like Dango. I mean, I mean, he skied that one a good one,
Oh
and he
gosh,
put
yeah,
a
he
couple
did.
of others, over, didn't he?
Mm.
And yeah, it's just for me, it's about being a bit more clinical. I think that's got to be the next step for us. Really, is being more clinical with our chances. Obviously, we're not expecting every chance to be converted, but
Yeah.
I just think we need to put a few more in the bag. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, overall, you can't be disappointed with that result last night. I mean, that's another big 3 points. Obviously, we're coming into Christmas now. We all know what Christmas is like, in terms of fixtures and the amount of turnaround time between games. I mean, obviously, like the next game with Ipswich, obviously they've only got a 2-day turnaround. Then we get a nice little break before the West Ham game, and that's when the festive fixtures kick in. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a tough Christmas, I think.
Mhm.
Every Christmas is tough for every team, but yeah, we'll cover the Christmas fixtures on the next cherry picking. But yeah,
Mhm.
all in all, very very happy with the last 6 points we've picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, really happy. Molyneux's always a funny place to go, isn't it? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
we've
it
had,
is.
but in terms of stats and that, when you look at the stats, which we did during the watch along, obviously,
Mhm.
it favoured Bournemouth anyway. But
Yeah.
it's always a difficult place to go. If you go 1-0 down, and with their support that they've got up there, it's always a very difficult place to go. But luckily for us, we were the ones that were scoring the goals. But yeah, and last night again, is it our best performance we've put in of the season? I wouldn't say it was our best performance of the season, but again, another vital win.
Well, of course. Do you know what? I loved the meltdown as well afterwards
Yeah,
because there was Jason Cundy. I don't know if you've ever seen this on Talksport, but when one of the big sides get beaten, he does.
yeah,
Has anybody seen Tottenham Hotspur?
yeah.
And he
Yeah.
did that again. Jamie O'Hara said it was about the third time he's done it this season, so that probably says it all. But I don't know if you've ever seen one of these AI things, and what they actually do with them. Have you ever seen
I
them?
have, I have, and
Oh me.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not particularly a big fan of them, but
Oh,
because they do get a bit, I think, yeah, very realistic though, very realistic. But
mm,
yeah, I've seen ones done about was it Ten Hag and who else they've done? They've done a lot
yeah,
of that recently. Yeah, yeah. It's just this technology is just scary, isn't it?
it
How
is
good it
scary.
is. I think that's what it is. It's like so scary how
If this was made by a Spurs fan, and I want to show everybody this one because I did burst out laughing, to be honest. If you've not seen it, have a little watch of this.
Mate, losing to Bournemouth is like going to the toilet and taking a shit. You expect the stinking thing to go down easily, but when you flush, the fucking turd gets stuck at the bottom and you reach for the plunge arm, but while you're looking away, your shit grows legs and arms, puts on that black and cherry football kit, and you're not on the toilet, you're in Vitality Stadium, the place stinks and 15,000 people come in and watch you fight the fucking turd. Today's game was dreadful. Mate, we let that infant Dean Huijsen score a goal against us from a corner where he was completely unmarked and we couldn't get a damn thing going in the attack all night. Anyways, after this defeat, my Spurs dropped to 10th in the table. We've got Chelsea this weekend, and if we don't turn it around, Daniel Levy is going to sack my ass before Christmas. I'll see you guys on Sunday.
Whoever that made that is sour grapes, isn't it?
well, whoever's made it ain't got their facts right because obviously there's not 15,000 people in that
Well, exactly.
stadium. But,
Exactly.
we would all love to see 15,000 people in the stadium, but unfortunately, at the minute there isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, got to say, not a fan of that.
No, to
Not a
be honest,
fan.
it did make me laugh first time round, but to be fair, it's just like it's just sour, feels like sour grapes. Whoever made it, is it a Spurs fan?
I think it's someone taking the Mickey, the
Yeah,
Michael. Hmm.
yeah, it did make me laugh. But hey ho, if it
Yeah.
is a Spurs fan, sorry. But let's talk about something a little bit different, and let's talk about the Cherries' youngest goal scorers. And Matt, did you want to run through this quickly?
Yeah, well, so obviously last night, Dean Huijsen made history by becoming our youngest all-time Premier League goal scorer
Mhm,
at 19 years old, 7 months and 12 days. But our youngest all-time goal scorer,
mhm.
from now these stats I have looked up, according to my sources, is Sam Vokes, 17 years, 1 month and 25 days. And then that was back in League One, December 16th, 2006, in a 1-1 draw against Gillingham. Now, I just thought it'd be interesting to have a little look back at our youngest goal scorers and where Dean comes amongst them.
Yeah, let's do it.
Now,
Let's do it.
well, yeah, let's have a quick look. Now, there's another interesting little stat with some of these, but I'll see if you can work it out as we go through them. But obviously, Sam Vokes, Brett Pittman are our two youngest ones. And there's a few names that stand out in there, like obviously Jermaine Defoe
Yeah.
stands out. John O'Shea, obviously, who
Mhm.
was on loan at Bournemouth from Man United at the time. Ricky Stapleton, that one sticks in my mind. I was actually at that game when he scored. I think he might have been on loan from Barnsley, I think, if I remember rightly, and he scored the equaliser. Was it the equaliser or the first goal? And we conceded. I can't remember. We were at Aldershot. It was just before Kevin Bond got sacked.
Yes, yeah.
I remember being at Aldershot because that was the first time I went to Aldershot actually, and
And
he
the last
scored.
time.
Yeah, it would have been the last time, I think. Yeah, I think it would have been. Ricky Stapleton, yeah, he scored there. But the interesting thing about a lot of these names is that can you guess what it is?
Just looking, there's quite a few loan players on there.
There
Of
is
course, Jermaine,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, so obviously Jermaine Defoe
Yeah,
was on loan when he scored at 18 years old.
yeah,
18 years old and 21 days. James Henry,
yep.
loanee. Matt Mills, loanee. Vicky Stapleton, loanee. Jem Carrigan, loanee. Obviously, John O'Shea, loanee.
Yep.
Andrew Sermon at the time was loanee.
He was, yeah.
I can't really say this name, but I do remember him. He was on loan from.
Johnny Vidardson.
Yeah, he was on loan from Everton. Good little midfielder from
Yes.
what I can remember. He was on loan. Matthew Connolly, he was on loan from. Who was he on loan from? Oh, it's gone now. McGoldrick, Dave McGoldrick, he was a
Yep.
loanee, as was Luke Summerfield. Lurie Delavelle, loanee. Morgan Rogers was a loanee. Mark Wilson was a loanee at the time.
Mhm.
Joel Ward was on loan. So a lot of those names there are players that are actually on loan that make up our. Well, this is the players that are under 20.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, quite a lot of this is made up by loan players.
Mm. It's an interesting one, isn't it? But of course, you know, there's a couple of players in there as well. Of course, who were on the books. Of course, Brett. Of course, we know about Brett. Sam Vokes as well. So there's a couple on there, isn't there? But it's
Yeah,
surprising
obviously
how few.
Jaden, Joe Partington.
Yeah,
There is obviously players, but a lot of them obviously have come straight through the youth team. Obviously,
yeah.
the only ones on there really that didn't come through the youth team at Bournemouth was Alan Connell, who come from Ipswich.
Hmm.
Ryan Fraser moved from Aberdeen.
Yes.
But other than that, and Richard Hughes moved from Arsenal. But other
Yeah.
than that, the rest of them have come through the youth system, unless they were a loanee.
makes it interesting fact, that one. Very, very interesting. But of course, Dean Huijsen, fits in there, and we'll tell
Yep,
you exactly where he fits because he's 19 years, 7 months, and 21 days. So he will be just after Alan Connell by the looks of things.
he will. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, he'll be in just after Alan Connell.
yeah, there we are. So, but of course, our youngest Premier League goal scorer in history. So, massive congratulations to him. And one thing I want to ask you is Marco Senesi has been consistent this season. He's been solid. He's, of course, very, very, very good defender. Andoni Iraola's got a real tough decision to make, hasn't he? Because how can you leave out Dean Huijsen? Zabania is, of course, being very consistent himself. And you've got a player through no fault of his own, who you would say would come straight back into the side. But how could you take out Dean Huijsen after what he did last night?
Yeah, I mean it's a real difficult decision. Now I'm a big fan of. Well, you can see him there.
Yeah.
Senesi, and ever since he's come in, I've been a big fan of his. It's one of those big decisions that it's a great decision to have because you've got 3 real class
Yeah.
centre backs, haven't we? Obviously, we know Meps is on loan. We got James Hill as well, who's he's a decent centre back. But he's got such a tough decision to make. Now I know I've been thinking about it, since last night when I was driving back, and I thought, if I was Areola, who would I drop?
It's such a difficult one.
Who would I drop now? But they offer different qualities as well. You've got to weigh up. It's a tough one. I mean, I was talking to Jake, who comes with us, and I think his dad made a comment saying, "Oh, Howson will have to start ahead of Senesi now." But like Jake said, don't have a short memory. Senesi is is a class player as well. So it's it's catch-22 in it. It's a great headache to have, but it's also a terrible one to have because you've got to make a decision and drop someone. That's the manager's job.
Yeah.
The other thing we discussed on cherry picking a few weeks back, obviously there was some press going around about Dean being, restless about his playing time, and you can see why. He's played, top Italian football last season. He was on loan at Roma. He was phenomenal. Jose, who you had on for the preview show, who's also been on the late night football show, he raves about him. If you ask, did you ask him about Howson on the show? Yeah,
we
now,
did.
he was saying to me that he is one real class player. He's kind of followed him a bit, and he was saying that he said you've got such a top player there.
Yeah.
That whatever you do, you need to keep hold of him for as long as you can. So is this Iraola's toughest choice he's got to make at the minute? I would probably say it is.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Who starts at Ipswich if Senesi's fit? Who starts? Who do you drop? How can you drop someone? I mean, forget his goal. Defender's main job ain't to score goals. He scored a decent header, and he scored a couple of decent goals throughout his career that I've seen on YouTube and stuff. But who do you drop? I
don't have a clue.
He's got to make the decision. I mean, Does the decision be made through experience? Is he going to go for Senesi because he's experienced, or is he going to go with Huijsen, who is a talented player? He can do the job. I mean, look at we just discussed about the tackle on Dom.
Or might he give Zabani a rest?
Is it a case that he gives Zabani a rest? Because obviously we've got it's great to have him all fit going into this period because he can do that. So is it a case that over Christmas he is kind of going to juggle them and manage their game time, which would be a good thing to do? Obviously now having Christie fit, Adams fit, Lewis Cook's now back, he can kind of do a similar thing with the midfield. And obviously we've got plenty of wingers to do that anyway. For the wingers and that. So it might be a case of that. But long term, who's your starting pair? That's, because we don't play three at the back. If we played three at the back, it's a simple solution, isn't it? You play with three of them. But we don't. We play the back four. So who is that centre back partnership? It's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to it either.
It'd be interesting to see who he does start against Ipswich. It would be interesting. I mean, was Senesi injured? I can't remember.
I think it might have been about a sickness.
About a sickness. So chances are he's going to be available for. But then, do you change your winning side?
Well, that's the problem. Is I would probably say, I always like that consistency. So. Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. But I tell you what, let's bring back up Guess the Cherry, and I'll quickly run through this, and you can reveal it. So, born in Birmingham in 1956, began his career at Burnley, was part of Harry Redknapp's 3rd Division Championship winning side, made over 200 appearances for Bournemouth, and ended his career at West Ham. And he coached at Arsenal from 2003 to 2018. Who is he?
Well, he is Jerry Payton.
Jerry Payton, yes. And I'm sure there would have been, quite a lot of people get that right as well. So well done if you have done. And it's been another great show, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's great. And obviously we'll be back again next week. Most
definitely. Leave your comments in the comment section as well. Who would you start? Would it be Zabania? Would it be Senesi? Would it be Huijsen? Which two of the three would you pick? And we'll see you in the next show. Thank you for joining us.
Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.